David Jones, the update on him is that he has been invited to the NBA Combine, and I'm happy for him. But that is, I would say, when he didn't get in the transfer portal and it was just NBA or Memphis, those were the two choices. I was like, I felt good about the track that we were on to get David Jones back to the University of Memphis campus. Seeing he's invited to the Combine definitely throws a little bit of a wrench into that, just because it shows you very, very clearly he is one of the guys
he's on the
behind
radar.
the scenes from the NBA scouts that they want to see. Like, he is handpicked by these scouts, by these front offices as, hey, we want to see how he tests. We want to see how he looks in front of this type of competition. And if he does well, that could throw some wrenches into the plans of the Tigers going into this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not going to get too concerned yet because obviously we don't know. But secondly,
he hasn't even talked to any of these guys yet.
Right.
He hasn't tested.
But secondly, like, we got to give credit where credit's due. Penny has shown that he can pivot quickly.
Yeah.
Even in times where it seems like, where do you go next, or how do you fill this void, or how do you fill this role? He's shown that he can pivot quickly. And so even if that is a hole, and it may not be another 20-point per game score or someone as effective offensively as David Jones is, but there's obviously still quality players out there that can fill that void that Penny would be making calls to, and we would be foolish to say that he couldn't get someone to fill that role, albeit maybe not to the extent that David Jones can, with the familiarity in the system and just the overall talent. But he's shown he can pivot. He's shown he can fill holes that, we didn't even know were coming. So would I be surprised if he already had some kind of backup plan sitting on the back burner in case this happens? No, I wouldn't, because that's just kind of how he's done it throughout his tenure.
So holler at me about, and I know we've had some conversations about this in the past, David Jones, the NBA prospect.
Yeah.
I want to talk through this because this is pretty massive. And like, these conversations are going to make or break. And obviously we're not the ones having the conversation. It's the NBA scouts and the NBA coaches in the front offices. But those conversations about him as an NBA prospect are going to ultimately sway his decision. And, I'll give you my thoughts first. I don't necessarily think he's a great fit right now for the NBA. And the reason I say that is he's got to be better on the defensive end, because he's going to be either late second round or an undrafted free agent. And he's got to work his ass off on that end to really find his way. We saw a guy in Lester Quinones who did not score a lot at the college level find his way, make his mark with the Golden State Warriors by sitting down and defending first and foremost. Like, that is how you have to do it when you're not, coming from a preferential spot in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
And then also, I just, I have real questions about his offensive game, in the fact of, I think a lot of his offensive game this year was predicated upon, for most of the year, he shot 40% from three. That's why the numbers were so jacked up. At the NBA level, with the new NBA line, can he keep those numbers up? And I think they'll get a look at that at the NBA Combine when he's actually shooting from that line. But I don't know, man. I still have real questions about him getting the ultimate answer he wants when he gets in front of these scouts. I just don't know if it'll be there. We'll see. I'm rooting for him because I want to see him go off to the next level and be successful. But I have my hesitation, my skepticism, I should say, about what he's actually going to hear from these NBA scouts.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'll kind of go from the flip side of it and kind of from his perspective on it potentially is, and we've talked about this, we made this point several months ago, but like, is his ceiling really going to be that much higher than it is right now, regardless of what he does? Like, he's just getting older, and he knows that, and the NBA scouts know that, and he proved last year that he can score at a high level. Now, how much does that translate, with the three-point shooting ability, with just the overall him not being the centerpiece of an offense? How much does his scoring translate? Obviously, that's something that they would have to determine, whoever chose to draft him or pick him up as a UDFA. But that's kind of the other side of it is, yes, he still has some development to do, especially on the defensive end of the floor, but he's not getting any younger, and it's going to be hard, even if he is better defensively, to boost his stock, because how much more of an offensive ceiling can he show in 1 year?
Right. So I will say this. I think this is the peak of his draftability in the NBA. And let's just operate on that assumption. It's also his peak, absolute peak of NIL earning power in college athletics with the Memphis basketball program. So if your peak is that low as an NBA prospect, you really need to weigh your options and be honest with yourself. Because if he came out next year and had a decent year, he could still probably be an undrafted free agent and go the G League route and see what happens. But you would be $750,000 poorer than you could have been coming back to Memphis. So
very fair point.
That's the thing that sort of still makes me lean to David Jones is likely going to be a Memphis Tiger unless he just, I mean, his stock would have to raise 25, 30 spots for me to change my opinion. And it'd have to happen through the NBA Combine and all these workouts he's going to attend.
Agree.